A CEO walks into his own restaurant like any other customer, but when he hears someone crying behind the kitchen doors, everything changes. What he discovers next will shock you. This is the story of Marcus Chen, a man who built a chain of 47 diners across the country. He started with nothing, just a dream and a beat-up food truck. 20 years later, he's worth millions. But success has a funny way of creating distance. Marcus hasn't stepped foot in one of his own restaurants in over 3 years. He's been too busy with board meetings, expansion plans, and investor calls. The day-to-day operations, he left that to managers and corporate reports. Numbers on a spreadsheet told him everything was running smoothly, or so he thought. One Tuesday morning, Marcus woke up with a nagging feeling he couldn't shake. His newest location in Portland had been underperforming for months. Sales were down, customer reviews were mixed, and turnover was through the roof. His regional manager kept saying everything was under control, but something didn't add up. So Marcus did something he hadn't done in years. He decided to go undercover. He threw on a wrinkled flannel shirt, an old baseball cap, and boots he hadn't worn since his food truck days. No suit, no designer watch, no leather briefcase, just a regular guy looking for lunch. He walked into the Portland diner at noon on a Thursday, right when the lunch rush should have been in full swing, but the place was half empty. Red flag number one. A tired-looking hostess barely looked up from her phone as she grabbed a menu and walked him to a booth near the back. The seats were cracked. The table was sticky. The whole place had this heaviness to it, like nobody really cared anymore. Marcus ordered a cheeseburger and fries, the same meal he used to make in his food truck 20 years ago. It was supposed to be the signature dish at every location. The waitress wrote down his order without a word and disappeared into the kitchen. That's when he heard it. A muffled sob coming from behind the kitchen doors. Then another. It was quiet, but unmistakable. Someone was crying. Marcus froze. The other customers didn't seem to notice, or maybe they just didn't care, but he couldn't ignore it. He got up from his booth and pushed through the kitchen doors. What he saw stopped him cold. A young woman, probably in her early 20s, was sitting on a milk crate in the corner. Her face was buried in her hands, shoulders shaking. Her apron was stained. Her hair was falling out of its ponytail, and she looked completely broken. 2 line cooks were working the grill like nothing was happening. They didn't even look at her. The kitchen manager, a guy in his 40s with a sour expression, barked orders without acknowledging the crying girl at all. Marcus walked over to her slowly. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay?" She looked up, startled. Her eyes were red and puffy. For a second, she seemed embarrassed, like she'd been caught doing something wrong. "I'm fine," she whispered, wiping her face quickly. "Just having a bad day." Marcus crouched down so they were eye level. "What's your name?" "Emma," she said quietly. "Emma, I'm Marcus. What happened?" She hesitated, looking around nervously. The kitchen manager shot her a warning glance, but Marcus stared him down until he turned away. Emma took a shaky breath. "I got yelled at again. I made a mistake with an order, and he went off on me in front of everyone. This is my second job. I work here after my morning shift at a nursing home, because my mom's medical bills are piling up and I'm just trying to keep us afloat. I'm so tired. I haven't had a day off in 3 weeks, and no matter how hard I try, it's never good enough here." Marcus felt something twist in his chest. This wasn't what he built. This wasn't the culture he wanted. He thought back to his food truck days, when he knew every employee by name, when he'd sit with them after shifts and ask about their lives. When had he lost that? He stood up and looked around the kitchen. Really looked. The equipment was old and barely functioning. The freezer door was held shut with duct tape. There was a bucket in the corner, catching water from a leak in the ceiling. The staff looked exhausted and miserable. This wasn't just one bad manager. This was systemic neglect. Marcus turned to the kitchen manager. "Can I talk to you for a second?" The guy walked over with an annoyed expression. "Who are you? Customers aren't allowed back here." "I'm Marcus Chen. I own this place. I own all of them." The color drained from the manager's face. The kitchen went silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Emma's eyes went wide. Marcus didn't yell. He didn't need to. "Pack your things. You're done. HR will contact you about your final paycheck." The manager stammered, tried to defend himself. But Marcus held up a hand. "I heard enough. You treat people like they're disposable. That ends now." After the manager left, Marcus gathered everyone in the kitchen. There were 7 staff members total. They all looked scared, like they were about to get fired too. Instead, Marcus pulled up a chair and sat down with them. "Tell me everything," he said. "I want to know what's really going on here." And they did. For the next 2 hours, they told him about impossible schedules, broken promises, equipment that didn't work, paychecks that were always late. and managers who ruled through fear instead of respect. They told him about the corporate directives that made no sense on the ground level. They told him about customers they couldn't serve properly because they were understaffed and under-resourced. They told him about dreams they'd given up on because this job was grinding them down. Emma told him she wanted to go to culinary school, but couldn't afford it. One of the line cooks, a guy named David, used to love cooking, but now he dreaded coming to work. The dishwasher, a teenager named Tyler, was trying to save money for college, but kept getting his hours cut randomly. Marcus listened to every word, and with each story, he felt the weight of his absence. He'd been so focused on expansion, on profits, on impressing investors, that he'd forgotten the people who actually made his dream possible. The spreadsheets never showed him this. The quarterly reports never mentioned Emma crying in the corner, or David losing his passion, or Tyler's hours getting cut. That night, Marcus didn't go back to his hotel. He stayed and worked the dinner shift. He cooked on the line. He washed dishes. He took orders. He saw firsthand how broken the systems were, and he made a decision. Things were going to change. Over the next 6 months, Marcus implemented a complete overhaul. He replaced every piece of broken equipment in every location. He fired managers who treated staff poorly and hired new ones who understood that leadership meant serving your team, not controlling them. He created a fund for employees who wanted to pursue education. He instituted a policy where no one could work more than 5 days a week without overtime pay. He set up anonymous feedback systems so employees could report problems without fear. And most importantly, he started visiting locations regularly again, not as a CEO, but as someone who genuinely cared about the people working there. Emma, he paid for her first year of culinary school. She still works part-time at the diner, but now she's studying to become a chef. David got promoted to head cook at a different location where he could actually create and experiment. Tyler got a scholarship through the company's new education fund. The Portland location went from underperforming to one of the top earners in the chain within a year, not because of some marketing gimmick or menu change, because people who feel valued work harder, care more, and create better experiences for customers. Happy employees mean happy customers. It's that simple. Marcus learned something that day. He went undercover. You can't lead from a distance. You can't understand your business from a boardroom or a spreadsheet. The real story is always on the ground, with the people doing the work. And if you're not listening to them, you're not really leading at all. So if you're ever in charge of anything, whether it's a business, a team, or just a group project, remember Emma. Remember that behind every employee ID number is a real person with real struggles and real dreams. And sometimes, all they need is for someone to actually see them. If this story hits you, make sure you're subscribed because the next video is already waiting for you.